Good day, everyone. I am Mike D. Tumala, a BSMT 1A student.
My name is Mikail P. Yano, BSMT 1A.
And today, we're going to discuss and share to you Chapter 8, Basic Skills in Self-Management. But before we're going to start our class, may I request everybody to please stand for the opening prayer. Let us bow our heads and feel the presence of the Lord as we sing. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Before that, let's have some simple energizer entitled Lula.
Hey, lula 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 lay, lula 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 lay. Hey, lula 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 lay, lula 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 lay. Itaas ang kamay, iwagayway, umindak ng umindak at umikot-ikot pa. Gumiling ng gumiling hanggang mapagod ka at tayo'y kumanta. Lula 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 lay, lula 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 lay. Hey, lula 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 lay, lula 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 lay. Itaas ang kamay, iwagayway, umindak ng umindak at umikot-ikot pa. Gumiling ng gumiling hanggang mapagod ka at tayo'y kumanta. Hey, lula 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 lay, lula 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 lay. Hey, lula 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 lay, lula 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 lay. Isa pa, lula 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 lay, lula 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 lay. Hey, lula 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 lay, lula 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 lay.
Okay, thank you. You may now take your seat. Do you feel energized now? Okay, very good. Kung handa na ang lahat, magsiupo ng maayos at siguraduhin na connect ang iyong seatbelt dahil tayo pupunta na sa ating panimulang talakaya. So what comes in your mind when you hear the word self-management? Okay, very good. You have an idea. Self-management is a technique that we practically use in everyday and in any way. It is a technique that is no less than carrying the self in a comfortable manner and in distinct details. With this attempt towards meeting varied activities, perceptions like, look, she is wearing a colored yellow shirt with green jeans and brown pair of shoes and yellow-green bracelet should be the truthful, or maybe this way. He is awesome that with that well-spoken and amazing speech during the graduation, being the youngest judge in the city, bearing so many degrees and with an attractive personality as if he was not that 36 years old. This in turn can be a formula to self-management. The way we carry ourselves in a way despite social evaluations, while learning to accept and reject judgments and criticisms is an opinion. A fallacy or error is the judgment behind our righteous actions. For instance, you have suffered a lot physically, but you just keep silent that ill condition from suffering a disease. In effect, you decided to stay away from your friends for a while and have your medication for 6 months, but one of your friends called you paranoid and antisocial. If you are weak, chances are you will get mad to that false remark or you will file a childish case, and it could be exactly type 1 error because saying I am right and I was tested wrong. With mixed emotion, you feel angry and sometimes defenseless because some people around you misjudge you for justifying your reasons, and it is because they did not know what's happening in you. It is complicated as well because sometimes as an adolescent, your personal reason is never heard by parents and even to surrogate adults at home. Most of the youth feel that they are alone and empty. Have you gained the statistical topic on probability? Here's what Vatican in the year 2012 shared during one of his lectures that successful outcomes is overall possible outcomes. So I will going to discuss to you the difference between type 1 and type 2 errors presented or the four windows presented on the screen. As we can see on the screen, we have I am right and I was tested right, I am right and was tested wrong or type 1 error, I am wrong and was tested right or type 2 error, and I was wrong and was tested wrong. So if the null hypothesis is true and we reject it when it's true, that's an error, specifically that is a type 1 error. If the null hypothesis is false and we've rejected, then we've made a good decision. Therefore, that is not an error. If the null hypothesis is true and we fail to reject it or we accept it, that is also a good decision. And lastly, if the null hypothesis is false and we don't reject it, that's bad that's bad. We don't want to accept a false null hypothesis, so that's another error, that is type 2 error. So type 1 error is when we reject the null hypothesis when it's true. It's also referred to as a false positive. While type 2 error is when we not reject the null hypothesis or we accept when it's false. It is also referred to as a false negative. So hope in this table you can see the difference between type 1 and type 2 errors. To better understand the topic, I'll give you some example. I think or I guess everyone probably knows the story of the boy who cried wolf. You only need to remember that the villagers committed both type 1 and type 2 errors in that order. When the boy cries wolf the first time, the villagers believe it to be a true and rush to the scene, but there is no wolf. This is a false positive or type 1 error. Another error is this one. Then the boy cries wolf the second time when a wolf is encountered and the villagers ignore or don't believe there's wolf. This is false negative or type 2 error. Another example is the rain and umbrella and the difference between type 1 and type 2 errors. Therefore, the four windows are called options in life and the sign that self-understanding matters over self-management. One student who happened to perform a community service asked a certain university professor and said, "Madam, how do you perceive a person surrounded by gossip, pains, and failures, but can still go on to live and still forgiving to face the people who hurt her?" The situation presented was perfectly an issue of successful outcomes over possible outcomes. Some who is fair in treating one's righteous acts and was perceived right by people is acceptable and rejects the false perception as wrong and made it right. thus moves away from self-blames. Imagine yourself living in a place where you are alone. Isn't it possible? There you found diamonds but you cannot sell them. There you have a lot of bearing fruits around and your house is as big as you have never not ever thought even in your wildest dreams. But you are on your own in that paradise. Remember the line, no one is an island. It's because no one is self-sufficient. Everyone relies on others and comfort in order to thrive. Chances are after eating your meal, you'll just throw leftovers just beside you and fall to sleep. Or you will just urinate and defecate anywhere you want because nobody will chase to remind you that you mess around. True, your human value, worth, and dignity will depreciate. When we say depreciate, it is diminish in value over a period of time, or in Tagalog, it's bumaba. Yes, you will miss discipline, affection, knowledge seeking, and all those we recognize as social activities for self-development. Your life will stop. The ones we are enjoying today, the group study with friends, a dinner for one or two, beach vacations with family members and relatives, and even the conflicts we have with others help educate us to accept who we are as we conform to the best lessons of society. Though exemptions to the rule, not also everything society tells us to do are correct in every way. For instance, let's all eat all you can. Whoever do not eat are not considered part of your group. Then you find the food stuff on the table or all belongs to the list that can trigger your skin allergies. So then, even if you completely explain yet nobody can understand, outload with collections of reasons after all, ill effects, it is time everybody believes, though. Proof sometimes is needed in order for society to believe or else they will fall short of telling you justifying things and situations. They may be right or wrong, but truth say what you have to say just to explain your side, whether believable or not. What reflects what reflects in between is your honesty that you feel right in order to preserve and protect yourself from the best information they should have known just to adjust what you can only do. Just like one famous adage that goes, others cannot understand your path since they have not walked with you in that journey. If people will guide you in the best way, appreciate it. If we if you find something hating you, it is but a decision, respect it. If you feel sad and teary-eyed, go for it. Weep. Remember what Pope Francis in the year 2015 said, learn how to weep. We Christians must relearn all these simple things in order to live contentedly and happily in life as we are not afraid to show our pains. It is humility and it is the bridge that will connect us with other people. If you have mistaken, ask for an apology. Remember the pageant host Steve Harvey during the Miss Universe of 2015? He was mistaken to call up who is the Miss Universe or the first runner-up, yet he quoted. And you can see this in the video.
Okay, folks. There's. I have to apologize. The first runner-up is Colombia. Miss Universe 2015 is Philippines. Miss Philippines. Listen, folks, let me just take control of this. This is exactly what's on the card. I will take responsibility for this. It was my mistake. It was on the card. Horrible mistake, but the right thing, I can show it to you right here. The first runner-up is Colombia. It is my mistake. Still a great night. Please don't hold it against the ladies. Please don't. We feel so badly, but it's still a great night. Thank you all.
What Harvey was doing was a rare act of humility. He was such a brave man for that honest mistake, since he caught up the card and showed to the world through the Fox network camera to closely see it. Philippine Daily Inquirer on December 22, 2015. But apart from that, an apology is never a real apology once it is not coming from your heart. It could become self-assault if it is just like popcorns popping in your mouth without appropriate action. In Revenge and Rebellion, you cannot sleep, but it is a way of allowing complicated emotions to develop, more difficult attitudes to incubate. Pride is an emeritus friend that will cement the mind and weaken the soul. You are a human being, we all are. So we will learn to accept that we have failures and more so. Understand one another's idiosyncrasies, weaknesses, and uniqueness. Reminded by what Dr. Daniel T. Uga Jr.'s speech in the University of Southeastern Philippines Tagum Mabini Recognition Day one afternoon of April 10, 2015 stated, "The priest who gave homily this morning in the baccalaureate mass of the graduating class in the year 2015 abundantly motivated the audience in viewing humility. The Tepalay bended and bowed, but stalked towards the ground with its numerous grains, are the ones who are more productive than the palay that stood still but bears no grains in any way. Success is found in the grounds of humility. Humility then will constitute an empowering will to associate positively more with people despite self-knowledge that he or she can outdo any extraordinary endeavors, but considering what peaceful works gets over one's wisdom to perform simple yet rewarding things. Self-mastery describes self-awareness that capsulizes idea on self-endowments. After all, in cognizance to the uprising social problems, self-empowerment is a big impact to combat life with self-understanding. Self-empowerment is like an asset to subscribe to the following. First, being able to ethically speak what someone believes, what is right, socially acceptable, that is nationally helping. Second, if someone go beyond to his or her limits and ignore them by doing what makes him or her passionate about her learning, upgrading and updating his or her skills and talents, that is articulate to the technological advancement. And third, the belief that continued deep respect to family, good motivation from friends, strong faith in God is among essential factors in pursuing dreams. Educating the self. Education of the self, as cited by Foreman in the year 1990, was developed by Jerry Winston at the University of Massachusetts Ed of Self, as it is affectionately called, is a college level course in personal growth based on psychological theory and designed to promote introspection, self-analysis, consideration of alternatives, risk-taking behaviors, and cognitive integration. The goal is for students not merely to acquire self-understanding, but to do something constructive with that understanding, develop a scientific attitude toward self-development, and thus grow. Moreover, in accordance with the Counseling Manual of 2008 as crafted by the Philippine Commission on Higher Education or CHED, in partnership with the University of the Philippines, Diliman UP, Diliman mentioned by Marcia in the year 1967, 1980, and 1991, describe the college students in terms of the four identity statuses. First is the four closed students, the identity diffuse student, the moratorium student, and the achieved identity student. These statuses were determined by the student's capacity of intimacy, moral awareness, respect for individual rights, and reliance in a universal principle of justice. The statuses are also represent styles of coping with identity development tasks. The four identity statuses of James Marcia in the year 1967, 1980, and 1991, as cited by Ched, are the following. First is the four closed students are closed off from self-exploration and limit their contacts and challenges. They also have bound themselves to a single choices with very limited research into their interests, strengths, and abilities or of program and career options. Second is the identity diffuse students. Identity diffuse students have few commitments to the future and are less mature than achieved identity and moratorium students. Identity diffuse students are part of the process of a person figuring out who they are. Their lack of stability or focus in the view of the self or in any of the elements of an individual's identity. Third is the moratorium students, or described by Erickson as delaying commitments, are able to effectively use the college experience in coming to terms with their quest of identity. They are the statuses that describe those who are exploring in an attempt to establish an identity but have yet to have made any commitment. The individual is exploring various choices, but has not yet made a clear commitment to any of them. Fourth is the achieved identity. Achieved identity students have successfully resolved ego identity as evidenced by firmer commitments to future goals. Identity achieved students is a cognitive process that refers to exploring an identity and developing an understanding of the meaning of that identity in one's own life. Achievement Identity for Adolescents. In the book of Foreman in the year 1990 cited the findings of Waterman under the four identity statuses of James Marcia mentions mentioned. Students who have weathered the crisis and who achieve an identity have come to their own conclusions and feel good about themselves. Their sense of esteem is not vulnerable to criticism. They accept and feel in harmony with themselves and are calm, nurturant, mature, measured, tolerant, and active. They are truly independent of their parents and are likely to have established new, mature relationships with them based on the individuation that they were encouraged to achieve by a democratically led family decision-making style. They use formal operations consistently and are able to understand and negotiate a variety of points of view on any subject and can empathize with people who are vastly different from themselves. Unpacking human personality. Unpacking human personality is an idea of more free, as quoted. The problem is to know how to unpack the human personality. Some have divided it into a lower nature and a higher or between one's worse self and his or her better self. Paul spoke to the old man and the new man. In his Republic, Plato divided human nature into three elements: the rational, the spirited, and the appetitive. Some psychologists have categorized man into conscious mind and unconscious, while others see him as conscious mind, subconscious, semi-conscious, and unconscious mind. Freud saw every person as consisting of ego, id, and superego. Added by Morphy in the year 1976, the point is not to attempt to find the correct categories for all of them. May be correct from certain perspectives. The point is to define categories that are functional in practical life and understandable to an ordinary person. The categories described by Harris in transactional analysis are not new categories, but they have new definitions. Each of the three persons within a person: the parent, the child, and the adult. Spells with capitals distinguish them as the persons within. Is a certain body of recordings from childhood that is preserved in the subconscious memory. This set of recordings consists of event data plus data of the feelings that are associated with the event. When the set of recorded child data is played back, the child comes on as dominant person within the person. The child feelings erupt as the predominant characteristic of the personality. The disruption of the parent, child, and adult is simply a behavior expression of the person within, an expression of either parent, child, or adult in what a person says or what he or she acts or feel. Then added that these categories roughly parallel traditional categories according to Murphy in the year 1936, where the parent is the moral nature or culturally conditioned nature, the child is the emotional nature, and the adult is the rational nature. Or perhaps more accurately, the parent represents opinions, the child desires, and the adult reason or reflection. Basic skills for school survival. One famous book entitled The Everything College Survival Book, authored by Rich in the year 1997, wrote so many good tips before below for the adolescents to ponder on that maybe later after reading would become the source of every teenager's advice, like packing for college, paying for your education, tips for earning some extra cash, developing credit, getting organized, computers, choosing your classes and your major, traveling to school, exploring the territory, homesickness, stress, get it out of your life, emergency issues, doing your own laundry munches, roommates, getting to know them and sharing space, get a social life, meet new friends. sports, get a date, developing good study habits, the daily grind, writing papers, speed reading, research online, taking tests, extra help, learning disabilities, internship, ships, day trips, the ultimate break vacation, and the summer school and transferring. Where to get help during college challenges. These are sources in the Philippines you may try to contact if you feel helpless and depressed while at school and away from family. First is the class advisor. If your school has a class advisor and your problem is considered PT, the class advisor can just be your immediate guide. Second is the disciplinary office. This office usually called Office of Student Affairs, or the equivalent is the one that implements policies, rules, and regulations. The head here is also the one that gives due signal to expel after a grievance committee investigates the student's case and can punish students to give community services once had infractions committed. Third is the school registrar, concerned with grades, grading sheets, wrong grade entries to your transcript of records or TOR, dropping and withdrawal of subjects and other forms of transaction bearing the same degree is the fourth and responsibility of registrar. Fourth is the college dean. When you have problems with your teachers and the curriculum, the dean can be a help to shed light to academic or teacher, students concerned, and sometimes due to proper protocol, the dean leave the job to the guidance counselor or to the class advisor in most cases. Fifth is the guidance counselor. When your problem is highly emotional that needs a professional help, you better go to the guidance office and discuss to the counselor whatever you want to share. No detail of your problem is nonsense for a counselor. Every tidbit of your life's issues are better heard loud and clear while he or she listens carefully. The guidance office is not a disciplinary office unlike student affairs office. Six is the psychometrician, a school personnel who can help you out in knowing your aptitude or intelligence. He or she can administer and interpret tests. Next is psychologist. If you want another expert who will assess and examine your inner conflicts, hang-ups, mental skepticism, and unwind your past, a licensed psychologist would enormously interpret and show your options to consider. He or she can be a psycho- psychometrician to you who can administer tests, interpret them, and process your emotions. However, he or she cannot prescribe scientific medicine. And lastly is the psychiatrist. If you have a different feeling more than what your peers have been experiencing, like grave insomnia that requires scientific medicine, a psychiatrist can be a big help for they can release prescriptions towards the pharmacy. A psychiatrist can be located in most community hospitals in both public and private. If you go to a psychiatrist, it does not mean that you are insane. It only means that you have a challenging concern that needs the same expert.
Closing prayer. Let us bow our head and feel the presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear God, we thank you for this wonderful day, sharing your love with our teacher and classmates. Thank you for the strength and excellence you give us. to learn and understand our lessons. Thank you to our teachers, parents, and classmates who shared to us the joy of learning. Amen.